the Evolution Security Podcast. Greetings, everyone. Thanks for listening to the Evolution Security Podcast. This is Aaron Davis. Now, as I'm recording this, I am actually still recovering from neck surgery, but I'll tell you what, it's going much better than I had actually hoped. So I'll still be gone the next couple of episodes, but I can't wait to get back. Now, for this week, Eric has John Valentine on. Now, unfortunately, at the end of the interview, it got cut a little short because of a connection issue, but keep listening because there's tons of great conversation, including a lot of info about a great training event that's coming up this summer. Now, also, just a quick reminder for you to go to iTunes to rate, review, and please share the show to your friends. We appreciate you all. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the EvoSec podcast. My name is Eric Davis, one half of the Tactical Twins. As you guys know, Aaron is still out recovering from his neck surgery, but he's doing awesome. Has some great reports of already gaining strength in his hands again, which is an awesome thing. So, he appreciates all the well wishes out there, folks. So thank you very much. With that said, I am joined again for a third time by an awesome guest and a good friend of ours, John Valentine. Welcome back to the show, brother.
Hey, Eric, what's up, man? Thanks for having me back. It's always good to chat. It's always good to sit with you and then get on these. So, man, I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, once people make it to the third episode, you're going to start seeing us filter down to just a handful of folks. Yeah. It's not that we, at some point you start muddying the waters. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And when we have a group of folks that, man, just really bring value to both us and our audience, man, we're just going to keep moving down that road. But I will tell you, I think Cecil Birch, he's gunning to make sure he's in the top. Little shout out to Cecil. He was a little upset that his buddy Chris LaPrey made it on a fourth time, and so
yeah.
Shout out to Cecil out there, buddy. We gotta make you have the record at least for now.
Yeah, we'll do one with me and him, so that way we both get the tie, just to irritate him a little bit more.
That's a good idea. That's a real good idea, John. I think have you back on for 4 and have Cecil on for 4.
Killer, man. Killer. We'll do it.
Awesome, John. Well, listen, buddy. So we had you on for a nice discussion about the Combatives Summit, right? Yeah. Which I will tell you, man, I am super, super pumped about it. And it's for one main reason. I've been spending a lot of time on firearms in the last year and a half, maybe the last 2 years. Of course, I'm still training jiu-jitsu, and Aaron and I took Cliff Byerly's class. But I'm looking forward to kind of doing a refocus on combatives a little more this year. So, I mean, you've been teasing a few of us about the Combatives Summit for a while. So now that it's coming to fruition, man, I'm pumped, brother. How about you?
Yeah, man, I'm very, very excited just to get all my friends under one roof, and now we're gonna be deliberating and just collaborating and having collegiate discussion on all of our life's passion. It's gonna be gonna be epic. That's really the best word I can.
Yeah, I mean, you stole the word out of my mouth, man. It is going to be epic, John. Well, real quick, so for our audience members out there, John has been on episode 56 and 89, which I will include in the show notes. So if you want to learn more details about John, go back to those episodes. They're excellent content. But John, for our audience members that may not know you, just go ahead and give us a quick bio.
Sure. So I've been training in combatives, I guess in earnest since 2007. I have a black belt in Army combatives and Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Got them both from Matt Larson, who is credited with creating the Modern Army Combatives program. I've completed the Range Master Instructor Development Program all the way up to Master. Graduated with Top Gun. Have a degree in criminal justice, and been doing that since running on my own, or having a brand since 2020. But I've typically known for collaborating with other companies like Green Ops, Hill Country Combatives, Starting Strength, and my passion is just helping people become a better version of themselves.
Well, you're doing exactly that, John, and you're a young man in the industry.
Yeah.
Like you said, your brand really just got stood up in 2020, and frankly, but we're old men. Myself, my brother. I guess we're not that old, but we're going to be 50 this year, so we're edging it a little bit. So, but you guys that are in your prime, I think it's been said by multiple mentors of mine that you're one of the up and comers, and you're clearly bringing it. You're organizing this awesome event. But yeah, so cool. And I would tell you, John, that in this industry, there's a lot of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot more than when you look at it, it's like, man, there's a lot more people than you would think. But really, there's kind of the I don't want to say top tier, but there really is. You got to be careful who you choose, to train with. There's obviously a lot of awesome people out there, and actually the reason that Aaron and I and Brian as well got started in this, because Carl Wren encouraged us, if you're at the local level and you have some capabilities and you're not helping people out, then you're wrong. Try to get people past that 1%, but frankly, you still got to be real choosy too. But I think you're leading a big effort in the combatives realm that I think is a real, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. It's I don't know. It's enlightening. I'll just use that, because I mean, combatives has been getting big, at least in our circles, for a little while. I'd like to say folks like one of the godfathers, Craig Douglas, and of course the Shivworks Collective. Matt Larson, obviously, is huge in it. But yeah, I think you're taking a little bit of a baton. I'm a little long winded here, but taking a baton and really pushing things into the future. I really believe that.
Yeah. So yeah, man, I really appreciate that. That is a very, very big compliment, especially like being mentioned is in the same sentence with some of those people is very surreal to me. And so some of those conversations have been had with some of those guys. I mean, that I consider mentors and friends, and yeah, I take it serious. It's not a game. I mean, it's just I never really thought of it as a game. I've been fortunate to where even from the point of being certified in Army combatives, I had a student base that they were definitely going to be using what I taught them. So as far as like the idea of being an instructor, I always took it serious, but then also being helped and mentored and guided along this path by people who I admire and respect, and who I have been following since I learned this was a thing. It's yeah, man, it's a very, very special honor I have in my life, and I'm very, very grateful.
Well, you deserve it, buddy. So one of the things I'd like to do real quick, and then we'll roll into some questions. So the Combative Summit that we're talking about this evening, I'd just like to read the mission statement. The the Combatives Association Summit aims to promote and advance the field of combatives by bringing together experts, instructors, and enthusiasts from around the world. In addition, the summit aims to provide a platform for participants to share their knowledge and experience, learn from one another, and deepen their understanding of combatives, techniques, and tactics. And that's a solid mission statement, brother. You know, and one of the things that you emphasize, or that's emphasized in that mission statement, is you're also saying, hey, the attendees are also bringing knowledge and experience, and how it's going to intermingle in this networking project, which I'll just say this. I think folks really need to, you know, if they're on the fence about possibly signing up for this event, is the opportunity to train with this many world-class instructors is phenomenal. It's epic, like you said.
Yep.
One of the most important aspects that I see from this event is the networking and the building camaraderie and relationships with like-minded people is huge. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like you're not just talking to good instructors. You're talking to people who have legitimately the a global impact on how
Absolutely.
militaries, law enforcement, um, how people in general train around the world. Um, it's going to. I truly believe that this event is going to be, in terms of significance, it's going to be on par with the founding of Gunsight.
Man,
And I don't want to say that it's very
legit.
important that it's not going to be revolution, right? So it's like, oh, the fighter guys are taking over. Like we're gonna go and poo poo on the gun guys. It's not that at all. What it is, it's the next natural point of evolution in terms of how we train, how we're gonna be doing things, uh, how we put drills together. Because now you have a very informed public, and I truly believe that this is going to also make instructors have to raise their game, because everyone there is legitimately accomplished within their professions, legitimately accomplished within their skill sets, and also able to put them together, as well as able to present them in a very articulate way that is concise and informative to people, that you can have zero training and spend a couple hours with these guys and walk away a significantly better fighter, a significantly better prepared self defender. And so I truly believe that in my heart of hearts, and I think that's what made it a simple thing to organize, because the other instructors, they believe the same.
Yeah, and the instructor cadre is, yeah, I mean, I trained with, I'd probably say a third of them. You know, if I look at the list, I've trained with a third of them. And that third are master teachers.
Mhm.
You know, their pedagogy is certainly storied, and I think that's, you know, it bodes to what you're accomplishing by setting this up. And I would also say that at least another third, or almost the entirety, are folks that I've been wanting to train with. So that, in my opinion, that's huge. So I will ask you this real quick. number one, how did this come together? When did it start as a brainchild? How long ago? How did this start to come together?
So it was something we've been talking about for several years. And what I mean I mean Matt, Craig Douglas, Cecil, Ben, Cliff. It's been something that we've been discussing for several years as far as like how great it would be to get everybody together, especially when you see things like TACCon and just
Yep.
how great of an event that is. And it's almost like an informal student reunion or alumni reunion for
Mhm.
range master students. And it was you know, like there's been guys who've out here a long time that people have no idea about, like Matt Larson, Cliff Byerly, and it's just like these guys that are
Yet
the
they should be household names.
right, and
Yep.
it was like something that only reserved for like like only the motivated really found out who these people are. And it's not to say that people are unmotivated. It's just like people like to stick with what they like to do. Some people, they get really, really deep into shooting. Some people get really deep into Brazilian jiu-jitsu or something. They kind of pick their area that they like, and they stick with that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But as far as like trying to put all the pieces together, it's like not many people do it. And not many people, and the people that do, not many people do it well. So it's like finding those guys that are actually doing it and doing it well. It's like really reserved for the motivated student, for the very, very serious student. I mean, if we think about it, 99% of people who buy handguns are not going to train with them at all. And it's
Yep.
like 99% of people train in martial arts. I mean, you got people today that are practicing lightsaber fighting. Like you're not going to, you know, the revenge of the Sith isn't going to happen tomorrow, but you know, people are still doing that, and that's okay. Um, so doing this where it's like a very real training and it's very practical and it's done correctly, that's something reserved only for the motivated. So we've been talking about it for a long time as far as getting together and how to do that, where to do it, and what's the timing look like. um and it just everything just kind of came together. Craig's brand was exploding. Um, then you have Cliff; he's also exploding. You know, working with TTPOA, and Ben has been blowing up. I mean, his helmets are everywhere globally. Um, Matt, he's making his impact at West Point. So now,
Yep.
all the leaders of tomorrow are going to be direct students of Matt Larson, and my brand has been going together, and all of this was organic relationships, right? This is not like a thing of like we raised all this capital and we're going to gather all these things and like pay these guys money. All these guys are my friends first, and they're my mentors, and second. So it just kind of like a natural organic thing. And we were talking about it back in August, and talk, you know, like, hey, that'll give me about a year. I could figure out how to build a website. I could figure out how to do marketing, how to do all these things. And yeah, and everything is like, hey, what do you guys think about doing this next September? Like, what do you got to think? And everybody was down. So it's really that simple. I gave a call and said, I asked, and everybody said yes.
Let's take a minute to talk about our sponsor, Origin. Origin is growing and expanding exponentially, making all their products in the USA without compromise. Of course, they make the best jiu-jitsu gis on the planet, no question. But they have products for the everyday person. Check out their 100-kilo hoodies. I've been wearing my Path hoodie almost nonstop, and Aaron loves his new zip-up version of the kilo hoodie. Both are unparalleled in warmth, stitching, and quality. Need blue jeans? Check out the Delta 68 jeans. Strong yet soft and super stretchy. Made of a cotton poly spandex blend, which is light and stays cool and dry. These jeans are named after the brave Mekong Delta Navy SEALs who traded their issue uniform pants for tougher denim blue jeans to get the mission done. Origin has also disrupted the hunting industry with their new line of nano-wool base layers, body lock, stow jackets, and their Novalock insulated jackets, all in the new innovative Raptor camo. If you need jiu-jitsu gis, Jocko supplements, or any of the products mentioned, go to our show notes and click on the affiliate link and use EvoSec10 at checkout. Now back to the show. Well, John, sometimes, and you'll probably agree with this, sometimes simply setting a date
Yeah.
makes something come together, right?
Oh yeah.
It does. Okay, on the calendar, you guys good with this 3 days?
Yep.
and lo and behold, the motivation to make sure everything's squared away comes together. And I don't think we mentioned the dates, but it's going to be in Auburndale, Florida, the
Yep.
22nd through the 24th of September. So folks out there, again, if you're on the fence, don't stay on the fence. Just jump in, and doesn't matter your skill level. And I haven't been to this particular summit. Again, it's virgin voyage, but I can speak from knowing all these folks involved. You can be any level. You can be you could have never had any combatives training whatsoever and still benefit. And I'll also go out on a limb, excuse me, go out on a limb and say that you could be a UFC stud or a whatever level of combatives expert yourself, and you're going to get something out of this. Am I right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's we on the website. If you go to combativesummit.com and you go to the about section, as far as like required recommended experience and prerequisites, look, it's plain in bold. We welcome individuals of all skill levels and all backgrounds to join us. It's not a jiu-jitsu club. It's not an experts only club. It's not an instructors only club. We're trying to branch out and reach the people who are going to need this the most. And the people with no training, those are the people who are the most vulnerable. I mean, I could take, Aaron and train him, but Aaron's already a badass. I mean, so it's the guys who don't have training. Like in my mind, I'm thinking, what would something where I can take my father to go to, where he could learn something, he can have a good time, and he can go back to work Monday morning. So, so those three things are very important. All the instructors, they got it as well. They know whenever you got a room full of adults together, you got somebody with a neck, knee, a shoulder ready to go out. So it's not going to be a coliseum. It's going to be a laboratory and a great litmus test as far as like what's possible, what you're capable of, and it's going to set you on a good path as far as like which instructor would I want to train with next, or what do I need to work on in terms of my own self development. And you may walk away thinking, well, I may not necessarily need to work on fighting per se. I might want to just go ahead and learn how to lift heavy stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why we got Nick Delgadillo there,
Yeah.
and maybe concealment. Maybe that's something. So John Hauptman's going to be teaching concealment. So there's going to be something for everybody, something of all skill levels, because and I'm sure Aaron, you've been through enough courses where you even know that you never really master this stuff. You just everybody gets got once when the blue guns come out. So it's just
Yep.
it's just all it does is just provide that exposure to where you need to work on and what you need to pay attention to.
Well, you hit it on the head, John. So any of these courses that are like at the pinnacle, like ECQC or Cliff Byerly's class, again, should be a household class. His Complete Combatant is an incredible course. Yeah, both Craig and Cliff as examples, plus Cecil, Paul Sharp, all those guys, Chris Fry, they know how to pair people
Yeah.
to give them an honest experience. And oh yeah, I mean, I'm a multi alum of I think it's 7 ECQCs,
Wow.
um, and of course CWO and multiple other courses in that realm. And I tell you, sometimes it was not my day, but those were the times where I learned the most. And Craig specifically, was always, he's brilliant at choosing your opponents, right? And so yeah, you definitely can get got, and but that's when you learn the most. If
Yep.
you're just going in there and and quote unquote winning, because it's not necessarily winning.
Yeah.
You know, if you go in there and win every Evo, you're not really gonna take take the experience and really learn from it. It's those visceral experiences that really teach us the most, and quite frankly, give us that parking space for that particular type of event. Hey, I've been here before. Okay. I can handle this. I made it
Exactly.
through it. So yeah, well, with that said, John, why don't you articulate some of the keynote speakers, buddy?
Sure. So there's going to be 17 in total. Okay. So I think the easiest thing would be to go to the website of combativesummit.com and then click on the speakers tab, and that'll take you there. But a lot of them will be names you know, some you don't, and some you need to. So Craig Douglas is going to be there from ShivWorks. Then you have Matt Larson, he's the director of combatives at West Point Military Academy. Cecil Birch will be there. Cole Miller, the UFC and Ultimate Fighter veteran, fought in the UFC 20 times. He's going to be bringing out his Soul Force Combatives program. Cliff Byerly will be there. Ben Albin, it's going to be at the Redbeard Combatives compound. So not only will you get to train with Red, but you'll get to see where he's at. And he's a special individual because he's a jiu-jitsu black belt, um, devout Christian, incredibly moral person, very endearing person, and an engineer by trade. So he purpose built this facility, um, like God created a guy for us to have a place for Have a Summit, and that was Ben. Then you have other people who are not teaching things that are almost the peripheral skills that are as far as applied self defense or applied violence. You have John Houtman, from the owner of Filster. He's going to be teaching his concealment tune-up clinic. Then my friend Nick Delgadillo, he is one of the forward thinkers at the Starting Strength brand, that he's going to be coming and teaching us concepts of stronger is better. Whether he
One of my becoming one of my favorite people, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah, and also, like, he's there teaching strength training, but he's also a distinguished martial artist himself, jiu-jitsu brown
Absolutely.
belt, ECQC, ShivWorks alumni, accomplished firearms instructor. So very, very interesting human being, very, very capable human being. That's just to name a few. But yeah, 17 guys all together teaching all unique material related to combatives. And my role typically is genuinely going to provide the language for everybody to speak. Everyone is going to learn the language of the clinch, of the pummeling, of the social dynamics, and terminating training is the main thing I am going to convey to people, so that way, as they go into their breakout sessions, they already understand these things. So that's going to be just a foundation. So it's like, hey, we're all going to be starting here, and you're going to be taking this stuff and going into the other workshops and building on that. So yeah.
I, I was actually curious when I saw that was going to be your beginning block. I assume that's why you were doing that. So it's cool to hear that was exactly what.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really, I'll just say it. That's a brilliant way to start the summit off with, because we're assuming there's going to be some folks that may not have any experience.
Yeah.
And if you give them those building blocks and simply the terminology to understand, then yeah, it's not going to be as overwhelming when they get to the other blocks of instruction. Excellent.
Yeah.
I
Exactly
tell
right.
you,
We want it to
go
be
ahead.
low threat, low bar. So it's like you can come in with nothing and get a whole lot.
Well, and I have to admit, one of the persons that I'm looking forward to training with, I've been looking for classes close to me for a long time, and that's Aaron Janetti.
Yeah.
You know, that young man is. I mean, I watch his. So sometimes if I'm just wanting to do something in the in the morning jiu-jitsu program that I help with, myself and my fellow coach, um, Justin Ball, shout out to him out there. Sometimes I just like to bring, you know, knife drills, and of course I'm bringing stuff that I already do, but every now and then I'm like, man, I'm going to go see some stuff that Aaron's doing, and I text him one time saying, hey, if you're cool with it, I'm gonna borrow this. And so, yeah, man, I'm looking forward to taking his class if I can get into it.
Yeah, that's another very special guy, and I'm looking forward to meeting in person. Shout out to Aaron. I've already started doing some ice baths, so I can train myself to hang out with him. But yeah, Aaron, we've had a couple conversations. Really great human being. And with that being said, I think the chemical mixture of what's going to make this worth going to is that everyone has a healthy ego. And it's not, I mean, it's something that you don't really see in the industry. You kind of see people very, very quick to tear each other down. You see a lot of bickering, and Matt said it best that what is kind of passes as discussion is typically argument and is about really dominating the argument as opposed to like really elevating the material. And everyone here, everyone coming to the summit, every instructor, not only are they friends, have they trained together, but everyone is very much committed to elevating the field and establishing it as its own area of study. So
Well, and John, I think you hit on a point that I think's important to double down on, is that folks showing up to this summit, they're going to be balanced people.
yeah,
Anybody that shows up and self-selects into any type of event like this, they're going to be balanced people. Again, I keep preaching to the folks out there that are listening that may be on the fence. You're going to be in a crowd of people that are going to become brothers and sisters. A guarantee. I mean,
yeah,
you're going to meet lifelong friends at this event. I'm sure that I am as well, because every event like this, I meet lifelong friends. Isn't it awesome that we get to go to events like this, John? I mean, I'm
yeah.
sitting there, it just came, a germane thought in my head. It's like, man, these events are just killer, meeting people and the camaraderie that you develop. So I mean, I'm pumped about that almost as much as I'm pumped about the content.
Yeah, I mean it's and you can probably reiterate this that all the best people I have met are people that are out there pushing themselves. And it may not be doing this, right? I mean, like the guys I go and I shoot with on the weekend, those are guys that they're just committed to improving as a person. They're I should say, let me back up a step. Like because they're trying to improve at their craft, they're trying to do something, a physical skill that's difficult to master. Uh, Typically what happens is that you evolve and you develop character traits. So you end up developing good character by developing good skills. That's not always true, but for the most part, most of the people I've met within training, whether it's in any area, it's like I end up developing a kinship with them right away, just because it's like, wow, I already respect you for the fact that you're willing to put yourself out there. You're willing to put yourself in a vulnerable position, having nothing to prove, and you can do it in a healthy way. So I think that's kind of what I see or what I've experienced with all the training community. For the most part, it's very, very positive. I think social media is like you kind of, it's easy to get hung up on the negative and all that stuff, and that's the stuff that creates engagement. So that's the stuff that trends the most. But for the most part, when you actually get out there IRL in real life and you're spending time with people, it's such a positive experience. It actually, for me at least, like if I teach a class or if I go to a class, it energizes me for months with positive energy. As far as like, I'm gonna go ahead and give my best efforts at work with my family. I'm gonna live life at a higher level. I'm just energized with positive thoughts, positive energy, with hopefulness, and it's just an amazing experience all together. And it's just, there are so many benefits that we don't talk about from being part of a training community, and that's one of them. So I think you're not only gonna get to see everybody, you're gonna save some money, and because you're not spending money on ammo. And you're gonna be in Central Florida in a vacation spot. So like, if the old lady's like doesn't want to go with you to the middle of nowhere, Texas, don't ask me how I know that. You can you can go ahead and bring out to Central Florida, go hit up Orlando, go to Disney afterward, or something like that. So yeah, it's gonna be incredible.
Yeah, I'm trying to talk my wife to coming out with me. The only thing that could be an impediment is our dogs.
Hmm.
And so, but we've got a beagle foxhound that we could probably put in the kennel, but our pug,
Yeah.
yeah, he'll probably have to come with us. But yeah, I was speaking to my wife about that. I'm trying to get her to come out with me, and she didn't say no. So
Awesome. Yeah.
we'll see. Um, but yeah, you hit it on the head. A lot of folks that plan around training events like this, you got to plan for 300-400 bucks worth of ammo. You don't have to in this case.
No.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that, honestly. So now will tell you, um, one of the other events, and this has a little bit of connection to Cecil and I. I'm looking forward to Craig's vehicle block.
Hmm.
That I had only, because of the way that the ECQC events shook out, I had only been in one ECQC where we had vehicles. Part that's on me because a lot of the events I hosted, and I just didn't have access to a vehicle at the time. But I'm looking forward to that block of instruction. I have to tell a story I've told several times, but my first ECQC, multiple of the events were with our good friend and mentor Cecil Birch, and one of them was in a vehicle, in a vehicle evo, and I think I still have a knot on my head from Cecil pounding me on the head with an empty Sims gun that come right through the wham wham wham. Because both of our guns were empty. I think it's because Cecil took away my gun too and emptied it on me.
Yeah.
But man, that was an excellent event, and good memory. And that's what I was about to say, is that the elation that you feel after an event like this, even like Aaron and I can't believe it took us this long to get to TACCon, but we just went to TACCon 23.
Yeah.
And the how you hit it on the head, the good vibes that you have, the outlook, the hope that you feel after an event like that. The elation is the word that I use in many cases, like in the hot wash after ECQC or any event like that, because you've been beat up a little bit, you're tired, you've been working your ass off,
Mhm.
and you've all made it through an event, and you're like, man, this just feels great to be done, but also I'm happy that I went through it. So yeah, I'm starting to feel like I'm an infomercial, but you know what? That we're trying to get folks out to the event for certain, man.
Yeah. The check's in the mail. So
Yeah.
no, guy, Aaron, and it's like, it's better coming from you. I mean, I'm in a, my opinion is super biased, right? I mean, it's us doing this event, so it's my opinion as far as what we're doing is incredibly biased. But you, being a multi alumni to ECQC and all the other guys that we train with that are on the panel, I mean, that says volumes as far as that says more to people than I could as far as marketing or trying to target. Like I don't even feel like this needs marketing per se. And I'll tell you why is because once people experience it, they know it's real. I think everybody's kind of dabbled in some kind of resistance training, some kind of self-defense, some kind of fight training. It's just a part of life that we tend to think about defending ourselves. And even people without training, they know if something's BS right away. And when you do this stuff, when you do interdisciplinary training, when you're doing combatives and you get to test it yourself and you get your own experience as a judge. It's not me selling you as far as like, oh yeah, hey, you thought that was great, right? It's nothing like that. You get to experience yourself and you get to make an honest assessment, and it's an honest experience. So
Yep.
yeah.
Honest experience for certain. And another, I'm just thinking about some of the folks I'm really looking forward to that I have not trained with is Ben Auburn himself as well. I've been following him, I don't know, almost from the beginning when I first started following what Craig was doing. So sometime around that, maybe a couple of years after. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's going to be awesome, man.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I think, is there anything else you want to say about the event, and we can kind of start talking on some jovial content and starting to close out the show. But is there anything else you want to mention about the event for the audience out there, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, we got to really thank everybody that came together. Just like everybody was down. And then we also had really incredible support. And I don't like, I know people will be like, oh, the sponsors, they come on and they just like are just wanting to basically throw a logo up. But as far as like the sponsors of Filster, Mountain Man Medical, KSG Armory, Barrel Block, like they provided incredible support because they have their own network. Like they don't need us. Okay. They don't. They want to be part of what we're doing, and they love what we're doing, and they think that this is kind of the next wave. And the opinion is you can get very good at shooting very, very quickly these days. You really need one quality course and dry fire. I mean, even now, if you pick up Ben Steger's book of the practical shooting training, I mean, you can get really good just from that book. And I've been using that book since January, so I can attest to that personally. Um, but as far as developing here, it's like then you kind of get bored. And it's like, how do I challenge myself? How do I keep myself excited about it? And it's just and I think this is what our sponsors have relayed to us is like what we're doing is like a way to keep people excited about training and to keep them challenging and keep building on something and just improving and pushing the industry to another level. Because now there's a whole other level of pressure testing that goes beyond just draw and shoot. Now it's like keeping a holster on you. Now, what does it look like when a belt is on and you're fighting for the belt struggle? Like this whole idea of educated consumers performing under pressure and under duress and having a way to test material and seeing what trends are out there and just exploring new avenues that we haven't really thought about or that are just kind of underappreciated, I'll say. Um, so I'd have to really thank the sponsors for providing all the support that they have and all the insight and everything as far as helping us get set up.
Well, and what I'll try to do, I'm writing a note. I'll drop, even though they can go to your website and pick up on their on the companies. I think you got links to their companies on there as well, or at least logos.
Yeah.
But I'll drop links to their companies as a favor to them as sponsors, If you're okay with that, and if that's
Yeah,
that's
absolutely,
cool.
absolutely. But
Because
everything. Go ahead.
good. I was going to say that we want folks to patronize the
Yeah.
folks that are behind events like this. We want folks to patronize folks that are behind this path that we're all on.
Mhm.
And so absolutely. So we want to push folks to them.
Yeah.
So but you were going
Everything
to
that
say,
we're
John?
No, everything that has been part of this has been incredibly selective. Incredibly. Every single talent, every single company we decided to work with or decided not to work with, everything has been incredibly selective to where these are not only they're it's not there's not a for sale sign. It's like everything here is authentic. Instructors that care about training, companies that care about training in a place purpose built by someone who does this stuff. So it's not everybody is educated. There's no like layman's just kind of coming in just for the clout or anything like that. It's gonna be it's authentic from top to bottom. Every single inch of this thing is authentic. People are dedicated to making this work and making this happen and getting it to people.
Well said, John. And one thing that I'll add to that is that, you know I'm not perfect. None of us are. But I tell you one thing that I try to do is I try to surround myself with individuals that think that way. That, you're not just choosing folks just because, hey, they've offered to sponsor the show.
Mhm.
You're choosing people that really believe in this event, and and also they actually are contributors in a positive manner to the
Yeah,
right direction, right? Because I mean, I have to say, we've got sponsors of our show, and we didn't just accept sponsorship. We're not huge by any stretch, but we were using the products of our sponsors before they were sponsors.
yeah,
Because we believed in their products. Tenacor and Origin specifically. Um, but yeah, I mean that's what I love about everybody involved in this event. There are folks that think that way, so that's a
yeah.
good mention. Well, excuse me, John, I'm getting a little choked up there. Well, let's talk a little jovial content here, man.
Sure.
Um, so you mentioned because I've been watching. You've been doing a lot of USPSA, right?
Hmm.
And to make a point, and then I'll ask further, is I think John Hearn, and I think this may have been some data that Carl Wren contributed to, is that once you have gotten to around a B class shooter in a USPSA, maybe even below that,
Hmm.
C or B max, that and maybe an IDPA expert class, that you're probably about as good of a shooter as you need to be. And like you mentioned, you kind of you need to focus on these other areas like the Combative Summit can help you with.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's your thoughts on that? Because you kind of alluded to that.
Sure. I think it's like you just I don't like to set those kind of hard nose, hard line goals for people. Because truthfully, it's like when you're being attacked or you're in a fight, you trade any amount of money you had to just be better in that moment.
Yep.
So it'd be fitter, be faster, be stronger, be technically better, and when you're getting shot at, I'm sure it's the same thing where you trade any amount of money to just get that extra tenth of a second. So I don't like those hard nosed. This is like as good as you need. I think it's
Mhm.
just treat it like a process of improvement. Treat it like a lifestyle. It's not. Don't let your doesn't have to be that your life revolves around it. but because look, I am after people getting good at shooting. I'm after people getting good at fighting. I'm after making people or encouraging people to get stronger and fitter and all those things. But I really care about the intangibles. I really care about the peripheral benefits that come with being highly trained, being capable, uh, having respect with and confidence from your family and your peers, and because when you're bigger and stronger, conversations tend to go differently. When people know that you can fight, you tend to speak differently, or you tend to be generally more confident, and it starts to permeate in other areas of your life, and just your overall life improves from doing these things as a process, as opposed to like, this is the goal, I'm going to do this and I'm done. I think it was Michelangelo said that just the worst thing anybody can do is aim low and make it. So
Yeah.
I think you want to get as good as you can, get as fit as you can, and become as good a fighter as you can. I just I think it's about the forest, not the tree.
Mhm.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And I think really what the intent behind that statement that John made
Mhm.
is that sometimes folks try, let me make sure I don't put, because I'm going to have both, excuse me, three of them. I'm going to have Lee Weems and John Hearn and Eric Gelhaus on to talk about the cognitive conclave,
Sure.
um, next week. And frankly, I think what the real statement behind that was that folks, they need to get really good at shooting.
Mhm.
But as long as they get to that level, if they aren't focusing on the combatives and thinking with a gun in your hand, I think that was the intent behind it. But I
Right.
absolutely agree with you. I'm not sticking with my current level of shooting capabilities. Although back when I was competitive in IDPA, I shot a level higher than I do now. However, I would say that I am a more knowledgeable shooter now, if that makes any kind of sense. I'm
Yeah.
definitely more capable baseline marksmanship wise than I was back then. But yeah, I'm not done achieving goals in my shooting, and I'm definitely not done achieving goals in the other aspects. Man, I'm I'm behind you, man. I'm still trying to get my black belt one day, which I will. I'm sure
It'll
that I
come.
will.
It'll come, brother. It'll come.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I just and it's you're at that place too where it's like you're just doing it for the love of it, and that's when it comes. When it's just for the love of it, that's when it comes. When you start setting those like, I want X, Y, and Z, and I'm not saying you shouldn't set goals. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Mhm.
But when you start really focusing on the one thing, it's like I feel like it ends up hurting you more than it helps. Right? It's like,
Yeah.
focus on the small things, focus on your weakest areas, and it improves your strength. Instead of like trying to peak, I believe that you should spread the foundation and have like solid, un impenetrable fundamentals. Like
Yeah.
your grip should be consistent every time. It should be
Yeah.
reliable every time. Your movement, your hip movement, your arm lock, your positioning as far as guard, your ability to defend against damage, your ability to protect yourself, like all the fundamental things should be impenetrable. And I think that will open you up to start getting those peaks and valleys, or those peaks that you're looking for. It's just
Yeah.
it's hard because there's a lot of valleys, you know.
Yeah, yeah, there is, and the audience is probably tired of hearing this story, but I was a blue belt for 11 years,
Wow.
and part of it was, part of it was at certain points I was like, man, blue belt, I'm cool with it. I'm doing all these other things. I was focusing on ECQC and my shooting at these different these different peaks and valleys of what I felt was important, but also my job, especially as a civilian. Lots of deployment. I deployed more as a civilian, or have deployed more as a civilian than I did as a soldier. Lots of TDY. I mean, heck, I just got off the road from a month and a half of TDY.
Wow.
And you can guarantee, man, when I got back to the mats, man, I'm like, I still was training. I hit an open mat when I was gone, and still working out. But man, it's the jiu-jitsu timing and conditioning all goes away if you're not on the mats. But I dealt with that for so many years, and yeah, so so yeah, being a blue belt for 11 years, I definitely had the blue belt blues a few times. And so of course I got my purple just over a year ago. I'm not trying to achieve belt ranks. I'm definitely in it for the journey. But absolutely, black is definitely a goal, and it'll come when I'm ready, and when my coach believes that I'm ready. I'm not at all coveting that goal as much as I'm just like, I want to make sure that I'm on the path to deserve that. That's the way I look at it.
Oh yeah, and it's like it's like, I guess the best comparison I can do is like kids rushing to grow up, and
Mhm.
that may sound kind of messed up at first, but let me
No,
elaborate.
I got you,
It's
buddy.
like when like my son now, he's 16, and he's like really rushing to have adult privileges and all that. I'm like, dude, well, when you get the adult privileges, adult consequences come,
Yep.
and it's like why would you rush to get to this point, because you're going to be that the longest. Like you're not going to be at a place where it's cool to make mistakes, and it's cool to um, do things irresponsibly, or explore as much, right? It's like you once you're an adult, it's just like all that other stuff kind of goes away. Now you're held to a very, very high standard
Yeah.
all the time, and you have to hold yourself there. Um so it's kind of like the same thing as like once you put on black belt, it's like it's you're going to be held to a high standard. You're going to be representing your community, and it's important that you represent them well, and represent yourself well, because it's like people have an expectation of you. So guys, just don't rush it. It'll come. It's like, man, I wish I could be a kid again. I don't have to worry about all these. Like, yeah, it's the same thing when you get your black belt. It's like, man, it's like I wish I could be a blue belt again and be okay, because now it's like everyone's coming for your neck. Now they see a black strap on you.
Well, frankly, if I can say, I know it's to a lesser degree, but man, it's the same way at purple, man.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's like, oh,
especially shit. Half of the dudes I train with these days, man, are freaking RSF stud athletes.
yeah.
And although in many, some of them are experienced high level as well, but a lot of them are also newer. Um, so yeah, they absolutely, but there's humble. That's the thing about these dudes in SF, man. They are humble people, man. And so, I mean, in the morning jiu-jitsu class that I run with Justin, shoot, half the class is SF dudes, because some of these guys are doing PT on their own. God bless them, they get to do that in some
Yeah.
cases. But they're just humble guys, and they enhance the room for certain. So, but yeah, back to that point, man. Yeah, you start progressing, and hell, I'm getting older. I don't heal as fast as I used to. So also got to be careful who I'm willing to go hard with as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that, and you got to be careful with giving space to people, especially when they're kind of newer. So that's
yes,
one thing that I've had to change in my game. Now it's like kind of organically, now that people are kind of coming hard at you, is that like I put the smash on people right away.